Ladies and gentlemen, there is a dangerous habit that keeps many people stuck, not because they lack talent, not because they lack opportunity, but because they confuse talking with progress. Talking feels productive. Talking sounds impressive. Talking attracts attention. But let me be clear, talking does not build anything. Real winners understand something most people ignore. What you announce prematurely, you weaken internally. Because when you talk too much about your plans, you satisfy your ego without completing the assignment. You celebrate too early. And what is celebrated prematurely is often abandoned prematurely. Builders operate differently. They move in silence. They focus in isolation. They execute without seeking validation. They don't need applause to start, and they don't need attention to continue. Why? Because they are not addicted to recognition. They are committed to results. You see, the world does not reward intention. It rewards completion. Not what you said you would do, not what you planned to do, but what you finished. And here is the principle. Your value in life is determined by what you produce, not what you promise. Time is your greatest asset, but it is also your greatest test. Every hour you waste explaining your future is an hour stolen from building it. Every distraction you entertain is a delay in your destiny. Every unnecessary conversation is a leak in your potential. Real winners are extremely selective. They protect their time, they protect their energy, they protect their focus because they understand you cannot build anything meaningful if your attention is constantly divided. Let others talk, let others announce, let others seek attention. You build. Build your discipline when no one is watching. Build your skill when no one is applauding. Build your vision when no one understands. Because the day will come when what you built in silence will speak so loudly that explanations will become unnecessary. And when that moment arrives, you won't need to introduce yourself. Your work will do it for you. Silence is often misunderstood by a world that equates noise with strength and visibility with value. Many people feel pressured to speak, to respond, to prove themselves through constant expression. But true strength does not come from how much you say. It comes from how well you understand when not to say anything at all. Silence is not the absence of power. It is the refinement of it. It is a deliberate choice, a disciplined act, a strategic position taken by those who understand that not every moment requires a reaction. When you are silent, you gain something most people lose: clarity. Noise creates confusion both internally and externally. The more you talk, the more you dilute your focus. But silence sharpens your thinking. It allows you to observe patterns, read situations, and understand people beyond their words. In silence, you see what others miss because they are too busy trying to be heard. This is why those who master silence often appear steps ahead. They are not reacting, they are analyzing. Silence also protects your intentions. The moment you speak too soon about your plans, you expose them to unnecessary opinions, doubts, and distractions. Not everyone needs access to your vision, especially in its early stages. What is still developing requires protection, not exposure. When you keep your ideas guarded, you give them room to grow without interference. Silence becomes a shield, preserving your focus from the noise of external judgment. There is also power in restraint. Anyone can speak, but not everyone can control the urge to respond. When you choose silence in situations that provoke emotion, you demonstrate control over yourself. And self-control is one of the highest forms of authority. It shows that you are not easily influenced, not easily triggered, and not dependent on validation. Instead of reacting impulsively, you respond with intention. Or sometimes you don't respond at all because you understand that not every situation deserves your energy. Silence shifts attention from what you say to what you do. When you stop explaining yourself constantly, people begin to observe your actions more closely. And actions, when consistent, carry far more weight than words ever could. Words can be doubted, questioned, or forgotten, but results are undeniable. Silence forces your work to speak, and when your work speaks, it carries credibility that words alone cannot achieve. it also builds a level of mystery and respect. When you are not constantly revealing your thoughts, people cannot easily predict you. This unpredictability creates a quiet authority. You are not easily read, not easily influenced, and not easily dismissed. Silence creates presence without effort. It draws attention without demanding it. People begin to listen more carefully when you do speak, because they know you are not someone who speaks without purpose. Most importantly, silence strengthens your relationship with yourself. In a noisy world, it is easy to become disconnected from your own thoughts, constantly influenced by external voices. Silence brings you back to your center. It allows you to evaluate your direction, correct your mistakes, and align your actions with your purpose. It creates space for growth, reflection, and discipline. Silence is not weakness. It is control, clarity, and confidence combined. It is the ability to hold power without displaying it unnecessarily. It is knowing that you don't need to prove anything through constant expression. Instead, you let your consistency, your discipline, and your results define you. Those who underestimate silence often misunderstand it, but those who master it use it as one of their greatest advantages. A vision begins as something fragile. It is not fully formed, not fully tested, and not yet strong enough to withstand constant scrutiny. In its early stages, it is more potential than proof, more belief than evidence. This is why it must be protected. When you expose a vision too soon, you place it in an environment it is not ready for, an environment filled with opinions, doubts, and distractions that can distort or even destroy it before it has the chance to develop. Not everyone will understand what you see. In fact, most people won't. They can only interpret your vision through the limits of their own experience, their own fears, and their own level of thinking. When you share something that is still growing, you invite perspectives that may not align with where you are going. And if you are not firmly grounded in your purpose yet, those external voices can create internal confusion. What was once clear becomes uncertain, and what once felt possible starts to feel unrealistic. There is also a psychological trap in revealing your vision too early. Talking about your plans can create a false sense of progress. You begin to feel accomplished simply because you've expressed the idea, not because you've executed it. That temporary satisfaction can reduce the urgency to act. Instead of building, you start explaining. Instead of working, you start announcing. And over time, the vision loses momentum because it was celebrated before it was constructed. Protection is not about secrecy out of fear. It is about discipline. It is about understanding timing. Every idea has a stage where it needs isolation more than exposure. Just like a seed does not grow faster because it is constantly dug up and examined, your vision does not develop faster because it is constantly discussed. It grows through consistent effort, focused attention, and uninterrupted time. Protection allows that process to happen without interference. When you keep your vision guarded, you also protect your energy. Every conversation about your plans requires explanation, justification, and sometimes defense. That drains mental and emotional resources that could have been invested in execution. Energy is limited, and where you direct it determines your results. By choosing silence, you redirect that energy inward toward building, refining, and strengthening what you are creating. There is also strength in allowing your work to mature before it is seen. When something is fully developed, it can stand on its own. It does not need constant defense because its value is evident. But when it is incomplete, it relies on your words to hold it together. That is a weak position. A protected vision grows into something solid, something undeniable, something that does not require explanation because its results speak clearly. Protection also builds confidence. When you work on something in private, you are forced to rely on your own belief rather than external validation. You learn to trust your process, to stay committed without applause, and to continue even when no one is watching. This internal confidence is far more powerful than any external encouragement because it is stable. It does not fluctuate based on opinions or reactions. Timing is everything. There comes a moment when a vision is no longer fragile, when it has been tested, refined, and strengthened through consistent effort. That is when it can be revealed, not as an idea, but as evidence. At that point, it is no longer open to doubt in the same way, because it exists in reality. It has form, structure, and proof behind it. Protecting your vision is ultimately about respecting its process. It is about understanding that not everything needs to be shared immediately. Some things need to be built quietly, strengthened privately, and revealed only when they are ready to stand. When you operate this way, you shift from being someone who talks about possibilities to someone who produces results. And in that shift, your vision transforms from something imagined into something undeniable. Intention is where everything begins, but it is not where anything is proven. Anyone can have a good idea, a strong desire, or a clear plan. Intention is common. It requires no risk, no sacrifice, and no accountability. It lives comfortably in the mind, untouched by reality. But execution is different. Execution demands movement. It requires discipline, consistency, and the willingness to confront obstacles that intention never has to face. There is a gap between what you intend to do and what you actually do, and that gap is where most people lose. They believe that wanting something badly is enough. They talk about their plans, they visualize outcomes, they make promises to themselves and others, but they stop short of the one thing that creates results: action. Intention may set direction, but execution is what moves you forward. Without it, even the best ideas remain unused potential. Execution carries weight because it produces evidence. It transforms abstract thoughts into something tangible. When you act, you create feedback. You learn what works, what doesn't, and what needs to be improved. Intention cannot teach you that. Thinking about doing something does not build skill. Planning endlessly does not create experience. Only execution exposes you to reality, and reality is the only place where growth happens. There is also a level of commitment in execution that intention does not require. It is easy to intend when conditions are perfect, when motivation is high, and when the outcome seems certain. But execution continues even when those conditions disappear. It shows up when you don't feel like it, when progress is slow, and when results are not immediate. That consistency separates those who achieve from those who only aspire. It is not the intensity of your intention that determines your success, but the consistency of your execution. Execution also builds credibility, both with others and with yourself. When you repeatedly act on what you say, you create trust. People begin to take you seriously, not because of what you promise, but because of what you deliver. More importantly, you begin to trust yourself. You prove that your words are not empty, that your commitments have weight, and that your goals are more than just ideas. This internal trust becomes a foundation for confidence, and that confidence fuels further action. Another reason execution matters more is that it forces clarity. Many ideas seem perfect in theory but fall apart in practice. Execution tests your assumptions. It reveals weaknesses in your thinking and pushes you to refine your approach. Without action, you remain attached to ideas that may never work. With action, you adapt, improve, and evolve. Execution turns uncertainty into understanding. Time also responds differently to execution than it does to intention. Time does not reward what you plan. It rewards what you do. Every day that passes without action is a day where nothing changes, regardless of how strong your intentions were. But when you execute consistently, even small actions begin to compound. Progress may seem slow at first, but over time, it becomes undeniable. This compounding effect is only triggered by action, never by intention alone. There is a discipline in execution that reshapes how you approach everything. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and start working with what you have. You stop overanalyzing and start refining through action. You stop measuring your potential by your ideas and start measuring it by your output. This shift changes your identity from someone who thinks about success to someone who actively creates it. Intention has value, but only as a starting point. It sets the direction, but it does not carry the journey. Execution is what gives your intention weight, substance, and impact. It is the bridge between what you imagine and what you experience. Without it, nothing moves. With it, everything becomes possible. Life does not respond to what you meant to do. It responds to what you actually did. Your intentions will never build your future. Your ideas will never change your reality. Your plans will never create results on their own. Only execution has that power. So stop measuring your potential by your thoughts and start measuring it by your actions. Hold yourself to a higher standard. The standard